Ladies and gentlemen, first up, with all the warmth and now knowing all the alleged benefits of clapping, please welcome your session chair, Abhishek Mathur, the Senior Leader, Global IT, IS, EU Services at Wärtsilä. Abhishek, thank you very much, and I really appreciate you being so energetic on the applauses as well. Let's give him a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Very good morning, Abhishek. Thank you very much. Allow me, you are the conversationalist, but allow me to invite the discussants for your opening, batter kind of a session, I must say. Please welcome Deepak Sharma, the tech entrepreneur and CXO advisor, independent director, and at Suryoday Small Finance Bank. Deepak, a very, very good morning. So good to be greeting you. Like always, thank you very, very much. Maybe also request Manoj Gupta, the Vice President Information Technology at Restaurant Brands Asia Burger King. Manoj, hi, and a very, very warm welcome to you. Well, like I said, the stalwarts, the most sought after, are on the stage. Abhishek, I will request you to please take charge.
Thank you very much, and thank you for this warm welcome. It's like 20, 25 years ago, or more than that. It's giving me a feeling when I used to play cricket for my university to do an opening on a very, very first day of a test match. But thank you very much, everyone, and good morning, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure and honor to welcome you to this panel discussion, and where we will delve into the transformation of power of AI, artificial intelligence, and its profound impact on our futures. It's a game changer coming, and we all know that, and we want to leverage on it, and it's new flavors coming with Gen AI and AGI coming into picture. As we navigate this digital age, we have witnessed a remarkable surge in IT spending, so we will touch upon on how we are spending for IT going forward, particularly in the cloud and data technologies, which is the theme for the day today, that how we see that how data centers transforming going forward, becoming evergreen and ever available with the use of cloud technologies, and become more innovative and efficient. But what does this mean to our future? I think that's the foundation of our discussion we have today. How are we going to harness the potential of artificial intelligence to build the digital infrastructure that is not only scalable, because we all are talking about scalability, because we all want to expand our business lines, and also sustainable. That's the core for the day, that talking about scalability with sustainability. I think they are two terms which are apart in the real sense, but they have to go hand in hand, and they have to actually complement each other. When we talk about artificial intelligence, if we put it in a crux, or the essence of it is that it's a science of making machine intelligent. We want our future machines to work, think, and like us, even complement us as a human race. It's a technology that empowers machine to learn, reason, and even make decision when we talk about the AGIs coming forward as such. And as I said earlier, it's often surpassing the human capabilities. To truly unlock the potential of AI, we need to foster digital ecosystem. That's the theme, like I'd been talking about, and can support the rapid deployment. One example is AI factories, which is coming up as a concept, and we all want that happening. But in all, not taking much time before I allow my co-panelists to have a word, but I'm particularly excited to welcome our esteemed panel of experts who are leading the respective AI adoption journeys in their respective fields. They bring wealth of experience and knowledge to this discussion. Probably in next 20 minutes, while we discuss, we'll explore these topics in greater detail and with this esteemed panel. Let's dive in and discover how AI is shaping our futures. So I want to start with, if I can have a huge round of applause for my panelists today. So if I can, thank you very much. So I want to start with Deepak now, and Deepak being a veteran in the industry, known face, we all know him for so many years around. Uh, so you come from a banking background and otherwise as well from the enterprise background. So what are the critical success factors for enterprises transforming to a data-first strategy to enhance decision making and scalability for AI-driven transformation? And my background of this question is data is the key, right? Data is the key for any AI to succeed, any function to succeed.
No, absolutely. I think it's great to be here. And we all have been talking about what data can do. Quotes like data is the oil and all that. But I have a slightly different take on it. I always believe data, whether it's oil or not, I don't know, but data is definitely more like water. Uh, a lot of times you keep water in a reservoir, uh, you store it. A lot of people say we have data warehouse and data lake, and they show those like reservoir equivalent kind of holding capacity of data. Uh, it's useful because you can use it for regulatory reporting, compliance, analysis like reservoir supplies, water, drinking water. At times, the data is also like the water sit in the sea. Uh, it may look vast, but it may not necessarily be usable. Uh, at the same time, the value that I see is, while I'm not saying none of those are important, is looking at data more like the water flowing through the stream or flowing through a river, because, and that is what typically we call data in motion. So you may store data, you may do a lot, hoping you will end up harnessing the potential of data. But increasingly, we are seeing now at the back of AI and generative AI technology, if you cannot make sense of data in the moment or more real time, you probably would be investing a lot more in the storage part of it, but not necessarily on the compute and analysis part of it. And that's how you typically see, just like why I gave analogy of a water is because if you have to generate electricity, you have to generate it when the water is flowing. You cannot go back and pull that water back from a lake or a reservoir and say, now I'm going to generate power out of it. So similarly, I think when the data is moving through organization, it's flowing either from device, from customer uses, your suppliers, all that. How do you find what is the real use case or the value that you can harness real time when the data is in motion? And I think increasingly, thanks to the kind of now the increasingly adoption of AI, getting more, I would say, streamlined data architecture in the firms, getting a lower cost on the compute. Now, I think it's possible now for organizations not to say that I'm going to invest on data as an infrastructure, but ideally, where will you create value, differentiation, better product segmentation, targeting, and in BFSI, of course, which I'm part of, but I also work with other enterprises as a part of my AI hat that I wear. It's more about finding what are those compelling use cases. So rather than trying to look cool and say, I'm going to use Gen AI or AI in the firm, I think it's important to understand what is the value that you will create by finding the right use cases, because even though the costs have come down, I think the compute cost is still reasonably high. And unless you find a compelling use case, you probably will not get a ROI for scalable adoption of these use cases.
All right. I think very well said and very good, analogy that data in move and you can generate power only in the flowing water, or you create that artificial flow, right? But very good context. But moving to you, Manoj. Manoj, you come from a organization where primarily it's consumer based, retail is the key, supply chain is the key, and everywhere data becomes the focus, right? So taking from your exam experience, what are the primary challenges you as a leader of your organization face in building scalable AI ecosystem? And how can they optimize their cloud and data infrastructure to address these challenges effectively, especially being a global organization spread all across all continents and various way of things and various different catalogs?
Absolutely. So pleasure to be here, first of all, and good morning, everyone. So as what Sir said, like data is oil. If it is, I would say, if it is not refined, it's a waste of data because even if it is the oil is a raw form, you cannot actually use it. You need to be refined it. So, so quality of data is very critical. So and that is where I think we are lacking a lot because we are all talk about, of course, AI is something that we are all working. And that is going to be future. It's going to be stay for sure. And every company, every organization is trying to figure out what we can do with the AI, with the Gen AI. You have a lot of use cases also available right now. But the challenge here, the data, basically, what is coming from the different channels for us. So what happened, like we have multiple channels, like online, offlines. Even in the online, you have multiple aggregator channels and then everyone. So now data coming from all these channels in every format, like you have unstructured data, you have semi-structured data. But the problem is here, we use or we work only with the structured information. And most of the information, like all this information, we are not actually using it. It's going actually in, it's waste of all of us. So it's very important to us, how do we get this information? See, we spoke about data lakehouse, we spoke about data warehouse, why it is so important. How do we ensure like we also use unstructured information in your organization so that you only don't see information one side? For like just an example, like as a customer when he's actually coming to me in my restaurant, I also want to see how many times he visited to my which locations and which restaurants he have visited, what he purchased, okay, whether he likes it, disliked it, didn't like it, any comments, all this information also I should have it. So there are like now social medias everywhere. So you tag somewhere, you uploaded some photographs. Those information also I should have it somewhere, correct? So it's very critical for us to maintain the right data, the right structure. I would say the data structuring. We were also working with one of the fellows on the Databricks. So, and now the beauty of this cloud technology, they're all coming with a full bundle. Like, it's predominantly, it's a package of the everything. You have source systems, you have your all types of information which is coming to you, like unstructured, semi-structured, and then you have your processing, and then you have a AI running on top of it. And then you can use your BI systems. So imagine once you do everything in one package and you give a right information to the people, and especially in my case, like when my crew member is standing in front of you and asking something, you say like, I need some burger, I should be able to know before you coming here, I should be able to see, okay, what went wrong last time, whether we delighted you, whether you didn't like our product. How do we ensure like this time I'll make it for you? Or maybe I can say, okay, I can recommend you, this is what you liked it last time. I think we have a new product which is coming recently, and then what can you like try to do that? All these things only possible when you have a real time and the quality of data. And as you also talking about the supply chain, see, it's very important because in our case, it's a QSR, like a quick service restaurant, and every item is a perishable item. You cannot keep it forever in yourself. So it's very important also for a supply chain team to ensure like by the time you are like, this week, what is the order is coming, and it has to be fresh, and it has to be on time delivery to your stores. So everything is back-to-back order, and also it has to be planned very well so that, because see, sometimes the festive season is coming, campaign is running, and those information should also go to the supply chain team at the real time so that they can plan. They cannot just blindly plan with the Excel sheet, okay, these are the data, let's go with all the stores. They cannot do that. So it's very important to have all this information flowing to you the real time so that supply chain also work 360 degree. So for me, I would suggest the quality of data is important. And you need to maintain the right structuring of data, like because don't miss any unstructured information, because that could be useful for a company or for organizations. And otherwise, otherwise I've seen like people only focus on structure and process information. So that is critical for any organization to maintain the right quality of information.
Right, I think very well said. The structure what you get in, you get similar results, right? A result depends on what your input are. But coming from talking about taking a cue from what you just said, as I said, there are a lot of things happening. You have a processes, you have step-by-step things, there are defined work, there's a supply chain, you have a partner ecosystem, and these partners, so you work like a factory more or less, right? Maybe a smaller store-wise factory, but then you have partners who have big factories supplying you various components. So use cases of AI, how the AI is, or artificial intelligence is redefining the manufacturing processes, optimizing the supply chain. You touched upon supply chain as an idea. Uh, Improving the product quality, because that's also a key here, especially in the industry you represent, where food quality, because it's all consumables, right? That has to be maintained at a particular level and also improve all the time, because there are regulations coming. So what are the potential use cases of AI there?
So one thing, because I was also talking to my fellows supply chain team, so what we also realized is like, see, you don't have a warehouse in every location, okay? You will have to rely with one of the warehouse in one particular city or state. And generally we call like farm to fork, which means like how exactly you're getting this material from the farm or whoever the supplier, and it is, there is a middleware, you know, and then the last mile, and then it is coming to the stores. So one of the use case we were actually trying to figure out is something, say for example, you have the trucks going on, okay? So every day morning, okay, say for example, we do a replenishment every second day, every third day, that is happening, twice a week minimum. So when the truck is starting from your one location, so I don't want like for a 3-4 stores, or maybe you have one city, one street, you have 2 stores, on the other side, on the other street, you have another 3 stores. How can you plan so that you can use bare minimum truck, because again, there is a cost to it, optimum value, so that you have a right potentially, like what kind of a truck you're using it, and the optimum, the path. So that when the truck is starting from the, from the supplier, it should be ensured like, okay, I am actually have to cover this area within the limited time. So that time is also important, because now you have Google Map, everything's like using the Google Map technology, using your past, your old journey that you have in your systems. Let system decide, and let system come with the prediction saying that, okay, you should use this particular path to supply the goods to all these locations. So this is one of the use case we are actually trying to figure out. How do we ensure like we have all 3 things connected to it? One is your Google API, which is geocoding that largely we use. All this, your history, what you have actually delivered, which kind of a truck that you use, what is the truck size, truck capacity, all this, using all this information, let system decide, let system come up with a plan saying that, okay, now, if you have to deliver the food in this other stores, this other location, use this path, use this particular truck, and use this kind of a sizing. So this is one of the use case I actually predominantly we are really working and would like to see the result of it.
Gives me a feeling of getting to a data extra class, what we did in first year, right? So very, very good point. But moving to Deepak now, and Deepak, you mentioned that data inflow is the key now, and I want to just tickle on our AI cap. AI game is changing, and changing rapidly. The way Gen AI came and it did the review of how AI use cases are, and I'm sure AGI is not far, and there could be a lot of use cases coming in the factories. You spoke about generating power, right? More power plants will have AGI because of the risky reasons you can't send humans there, and AGI has to take decisions. So AGI, one use case is this. But I want to touch upon the next thing, which is a big bang coming, is the frontier technologies and the use of AI and other stuff. So you want to touch base on that, please?
I think I'm seeing a lot of AI right now, especially in BFSI, because they deal with a lot of data at the back end. It's still not something that while I think use cases like chatbots and all, people have spoken many times, but yeah, I'm not, probably we have moved ahead of time. So I think where you are seeing a lot of value today for a financial service industry is on the risk side, because if you look at any bank, either because of the regulatory demands or the core of any financial institution is how well do they manage overall risk, right? So be it a credit risk, so as you are profiling, you are monitoring your loan book, building your models to predict what are the delinquencies likely to hit you, basis economic cycle, basis the kind of delayed payments, customer segments that you or the kind of target you have done. So you are building a lot of predictive model to create a forward-looking projection as to how the firm will deliver 3 quarters from now or 4 quarters from now. Like you would have heard regulators asking banks to reduce exposure on unsecured lending. Because in a lot of cases, it's seen that people borrow money and then they invest it into stock markets and then they lose money and they are unable to even repay those loans. Now, this can be one use case, but how can you solve for it unless you have the vast amount of data of the repayment records, deployment of funds? So you're dealing with massive amount of data to understand should you change your customer targeting, the kind of customers that you are onboarding, what is the likelihood of these customers not repaying. So the whole credit and risk model is largely getting used now at the back of AI. Similarly, another use case that I'm seeing becoming relevant is or your entire co-pilot kind of a model of how do you train humans to be more efficient while dealing with things. So be it if there's a credit officer, he has to evaluate a credit proposal where you get data from multiple sources. Say if it's a small business, or you have a GST and you have the records and documents coming in, it's able to make sense in a much shorter form and give you a clear recommendation. As human, you may still choose to override it, but it's more like a co-pilot who's helping you become more efficient in, or a contact center agent has to take a decision of whether to waive off certain charges or not, basis your past transaction, historical data, relationship value to recommend whether they should be permitted, not permitted. Now, a human cannot take those decisions every time. They will end up asking somebody senior, oh, should I do it? Is there a policy for it? A lot of things is not about policy. It's about what do you do with customers in the moment. Similarly, insurance, I think a lot of you, those who have probably been ever to hospital and claimed your health insurance, typically patients end up waiting for 4 or 5 hours before their TPA approves their claim, and then hospital will give you a discharge slip. Because they have to keep checking whether the expenses are allowed, not allowed, how much of that they can permit under insurance. Now you're dealing with a lot of data about permissible, not permissible, amount, line of treatment to the kind of bill. Now this whole use case today is getting solved at scale through generative AI, LLM models. So I think today AI is getting used to solve real world problem. It's not about doing some fancy things, but becoming more efficient on whatever you do, either for customer delight or operation or risk or credit. And I think each of these today, the way I see it, both in India and globally, is largely the prime use cases.
I think very well said. If I could sum up here, what Deepak said is primarily on how the things going forward in the fast-moving consumer group segment, the food segment, how AI's use cases, and then Manoj said so, and Deepak spoke about this fast-moving thing, and Manoj was mixed up. So when Deepak was talking about not only about the banking sector, but also for the other sectors as well. So there are a lot of use cases as such, and I think that's what we have right now. Any questions from the audience? Right, we have experts sitting here. You can ask any of the questions, any queries you have about AIs going forward. You take on, Mr. Deepak. Yeah. Yes, sir. Deepak.
ecosystem. No, I'm not really from the hardcore. I'm a strategy management consultant. So tell me in brief 3 or 4 points, what would constitute an ecosystem, both from the tech sector and the non-tech sector?
I think the starting point always is about what's the problem that you want to solve, and is it really a hardcore problem which can be solved through AI or Gen AI, because there are a lot of things you can just solve through a reinforcement learning. You don't even need a generative AI solution. But normally, the biggest thing I always keep saying is people try to force fit AI into everything. It's like taking a gun to kill a fly. You don't require. I mean, there can be few things which can be a simple utility tools you can build and or run a macros and still get certain outputs. So I think first finding out the starting point, I always say, is internally organization needs to have a clear learning between the business, strategic issue or what they want to solve for, and what is the right approach. Keep technology completely out of it. Technology is I always keep saying that's a secondary discussion. I think having got that, the next important thing from ecosystem is internally to see how well, what are your sources of data or information, and how do you want to use that data or information to create certain value or output. I think having done that, you will require, that's where you'll require some help, probably to see whether your source systems, the flow of data, whether it's real time, it's with lag, is the data moving in at one defined place. I think the third is having got these two, is to see what kind of tools or technology would best solve for it. Again, idea there is not to go to vendors first, sorry to be saying it, but they will try to force fit a solution. I think once you are pretty clear about what is the right thing, you have data in place, and for that you need experts. Either you need to make sure that whether your data is residing on-prem, it's on cloud, what kind of your data tools do you have right now. I think then it's all about finding the right models and the providers. There are many of them. I mean, I can't talk about one specific here. But I always say this is a three-pronged strategy that any organization should look at rather than jumping into the AI bandwagon on day zero.
Thank you very much. It is important that what do we want to achieve is the core. How is an enabler? So technology becomes the enabler. I think that's a very valid point. But taking a note on that, I just wanted to say a last word before we go. Artificial intelligence is there as a enabler and it's helper, and it will enable things where humans can't do. But I want to close this with one example. Recently, if you know, there's the government scheme of Ladki Behan Yojana, and my wife was telling me that the housemaid, she was getting some money from the government and she has started spending in the SIPs now. So entire money she got in those Ladki Behan Yojana is going to SIPs. So taking a cue from that, thank you very much. You had been a lovely panelist and lovely audience. Can we have a huge round of applause for the panelists today?